Alright, so today what I wanted to do was take a moment to talk about some DLC potential that could be coming to the Resident Evil 4 Remake. We already know that the Separate Ways DLC is 100% coming. It is in the files as a thing, so it's definitely releasing at some point. And alongside that, we're obviously getting Ada and Wesker as mercenaries characters to play. But today what I wanted to do was take a moment to think about a potential DLC for Ashley that is more horror focused and has a more scary tone compared to the rest of the RE4 kind of game as a whole. I'll go over the reasons why I think that's a possibility in a moment, but I just want to take a minute to talk about the actual Ashley section of the game. I don't have footage of it, annoyingly. My footage seems to have disappeared from that part of the game, so I'm just using mercenaries instead. But if you play through the main game and you play through Ashley's sequence, you'll know it is more horror focused. You can't fight back, you have to run and hide and stun the enemies rather than fight them off. And overall I think it is a lot better made than the original game's version, and they could definitely kind of, I think if they wanted to implement more horror themes into RE4 using Ashley, for instance. You could even take it in a different direction if you want to use Ashley, and you could maybe go over the storyline of what happened to the hikers that you hear about and then inevitably find in the main game. You know, you could have a DLC based on those characters and you see what happens to them, and you know, maybe do like a Ghost Survivors DLC, kind of like how they did with Resident Evil 2 Remake, and have like an optional DLC where there's like an alternate ending to that story and maybe have it play out differently if you succeed. That's always been a good idea. I don't think anyone expected that DLC to come out for 2, and it did really, really well. And of course it was free, so it was always good to kind of have that there. You know, the what if scenarios were always pretty cool. But yeah, I think having a horror focused DLC for 4 would be good for a different part of the player base. You know, I think a lot of people do prefer the horror focused games like 1, 2, 3, 7 over like your 4, 5 and Village. It's understandable. Obviously it did start as a horror game and it did shift slightly from 4 onwards, but you know, it would please all camps then at that point. You would have a DLC where it's all horror focused, no massive combat areas, and then you've got the main game, which is of course RE4 as it is intended to be played, and I think, you know, that would be a positive all around for a lot of people. Let's be honest, in recent years, you know, more specifically with Village and the 4 Remake, they've done a horror section in the game and it's done really well. You know, we've got House Beneviento from Resident Evil Village and we've got the Ashley section in RE4, and they're both done very, very well, so they can still do really good, effective horror. But having a DLC for 4, maybe where you play as Ashley, would be a way to, kind of, again, just please everybody and make sure that there's something for everyone in the game, because obviously, again, RE4 is a very action-heavy game. Now there is of course different directions they could take the DLC in. I've already seen a couple of ideas floated around the internet that would be a pretty good way to make some more DLC for the game, on top of Separate Ways. Obviously we know what Separate Ways is, it is coming, it's the Ada campaign, and it's going to be great, I'm sure. But if they're wanting to add more, because the game is doing so well, so why would they not add more content to the game? You know, they did it with RE2, I don't think anyone really expected that DLC to be a thing, but it was, so that was a pretty cool thing to see. And we will of course go over the other ideas people have for DLC in separate videos, but today I just kind of wanted to bring forward a potential for a Ashley DLC, or you know, a horror DLC as a whole. But that's pretty much going to do it. Let me know your thoughts on a DLC plan for the game. Obviously outside of Separate Ways and maybe some additional mercenary stuff, what would you want to see more than others? Would you want to see an action focused DLC, a horror focused DLC, a blend of both, or something completely different? Do let me know what you think, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Well, that's pretty much going to do it. Thank you all for coming by. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy and to subscribe for more Resident Evil content. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.